Hey YouTube, this is DIY with Donna. In this video, I'm going to talk about transforming our backyard. So about 30 years ago, we bought these Leland cypress trees, and they were beautiful in the backyard as they lined up the backyard. But eventually they overtook our yard. So we decided to cut them down, and it was kind of sad seeing them cut down, but it gave us more space because the trees were just too huge and they were taking over the backyard. So that was the first part of our transformation of the backyard, removing all the trees and all the stumps. Here you can see them cutting down the trees, and it's guided by a string so the tree does not hit the house or the neighbor's house. Then after all the trees have been cut down, the stumps are there, and they came back the next day with the machine that goes and grounds up the stumps. Then we wanted to get some ideas of what to do with our backyard, and we and put in a picture of our backyard with the trees down and ask it to create an image of what a nice design for our backyard would be. So it came up with a variety of AI designs. Some were very extravagant, where we had to dig a lower level, which is not going to happen. Others were reasonable, So we kind of looked at some of the components of the design and figure we could do some of the things that we saw that we liked. So out of the three designs that I saw, this one was the most relatable. And I did like how they had the flowers and trees under the bay window, and I figured I could do that. So I had my grandkids here, and they actually planted some azaleas under there. So that's part of the transformation that we had. We had them put down some weed control, and then they were cutting the plastic off of the plants that they were going to add. Eventually, they got them in the ground and they looked great. Then the other part that I did like out of one of the pictures in AI was the mulch that they put underneath the deck area. So I put some mulch under the deck and then used some pavers to kind of go from one end to the other, so you could walk back and forth under the deck onto the pavers. So one of the Leland cypress trees that we had removed was located in the corner of our yard. So we decided to use that area to put a shed. We built the foundation, and then we purchased a sun-cast shed that we built, which is utilized greatly because we can put a lot of the things we had in our garage in there. So we placed that in the corner of our yard. The last one of the major transformation was to put a patio in the back. Originally, we were thinking about doing it, but lifting those pavers and, using something to hamp down the sand and stuff, we decided to go ahead and have someone else do it. But I did record the steps, and I will show you the steps that they did, and it has come out relatively well. One of the first things we had to determine is the size of the patio, and we went with 20 feet by 15 feet and a cutout for the flower bed that we had put in. So the contractor, they drew up a design, as you can see here, where they have the flower bed cut out, and the measurement is 20 by 15. So the next thing we had to do was choose the type of pavers, and we went with champagne gray pavers with a dark border, an onyx border. So I was unable to get everything that they did, but what they did do is they measured and outlined the patio size. Like I said, we got 20 by 15 with the cutout of the flower bed. And they ensured that it was sloped away from the house for about an eighth and a fourth foot for drainage. Of course, they dug up the grass and soil, and they were kind enough to put what they dug up in areas on our yard where the grass wasn't growing that well. So they compacted down the soil, and then they added crushed stone along with gravel. You know, they put it down, I guess, 2 to 3 inches, and then compact each layer thoroughly. I was saying maybe they could use the patio paver that they had at Lowe's, but they said they don't use that. The next thing they did, you know, they leveled and made sure it was sloped. They did add edge restraints. You can't really see it here in the pictures, but they did have edge restraints around the perimeter of where the patio was going to be, and they secured it with spikes. They added some concrete sand, not play sand, it's concrete sand, and they smoothed it out using like the pipe guides and string. They started from a straight edge, which was our house. So then they did the pavers, and they, you know, cut the pavers to size and the design that we wanted. So after they laid out all of the pavers and compacted the surface, they added this joint sand. I think it's called polymeric sand, which kind of locks the pavers together, and it also prevents weeds from growing. And then finally, they compacted and watered. The mist of the water makes the polymeric sand, activates it, so it kind of tightens up the in between the pavers. And then lastly, they did do a nice surrounding of topsoil and mulch around the edge so the grass could grow around it. But all in all, we were pretty pleased with it, and it turned out great. So hopefully, you know, that tells you how they did it. We chose not to do it, the patio, but those were some of the steps that they utilized to do it. So our backyard transformation started when we decided to remove the trees in our backyard that were taking over a large space. We utilized AI to get some design ideas, and utilized the ideal of putting flowers under the bay window and using mulch under the deck, and putting a shed in the corner that helped us clean out our garage, to getting a nice pavement done. So this is the beginning of the transformation. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and share, and we'll talk to you next time. This is DIY with Donna.